In a textile factory, a worker setting up a lathe machine suddenly had his hand caught by the spinning mechanism. Instead of pulling only the textile strands, the machine immediately sucked them into his hand, trapping him inside and dislodging the textile strands, wasting them. Coworkers rushed to free him, but he was left in a severe and critical condition from the entanglement. This incident highlights the extreme dangers of exposed rotating machinery. Machines must be powered down and locked out during setup or maintenance, and guards or shields should be in place to prevent accidental contact. Workers should maintain a safe distance from moving parts, and proper training is essential to prevent catastrophic injuries and production hazards. In a power plant, a worker performing welding on top of a large gas-filled container triggered a massive explosion when sparks ignited an undetected leak. The ignition flashed instantly, followed by a violent blast that tore through the production area and hurled the worker high into the air before he crashed to the ground. This incident highlights the extreme hazards of welding near pressurized or gas-containing systems. Hot work must never proceed without gas testing, isolation, and depressurization. Hot work permits, continuous atmospheric monitoring, and fire watches are essential to prevent devastating explosions and severe burn or blast injuries. In a recycling facility, a worker standing on a conveyor system moved too close to the gap where two belts connected and was suddenly pulled into the moving mechanism. The powerful rollers dragged him downward as he struggled to free himself, leaving only part of his head visible above the surface. This incident highlights the extreme dangers of conveyor belt systems. Workers must never stand or ride on active belts, and all pinch points must be guarded. Emergency stop lines, lockout-tagout procedures, and strict no-access policies around moving conveyors are essential to prevent fatal entrapment injuries. In an appliance warehouse, a new forklift driver transporting a tall stack of boxes dropped and scattered them on the floor. As he adjusted his position with the load up high, he accidentally bumped the fork controls, jolting the elevated load. The sudden shift caused the stacked boxes to tip and cascade to the ground, as coworkers immediately rushed over in alarm. This incident highlights the risks of operating forklifts with elevated loads. Forks should be kept low during travel to maintain stability and visibility. Proper training, slow maneuvering, and load securing are essential to prevent tipping hazards and falling object injuries in warehouse environments. In an industrial workshop, a worker cutting a block of steel sensed something wrong with the machine and instinctively stepped back. Seconds later, the machine dislodged from its base, crashed to the ground, and erupted in a burst of sparks. Fortunately, no one was injured. What had been a routine metalworking task nearly turned into a serious impact and fire hazard. This incident highlights the importance of properly securing heavy machinery to stable foundations. Equipment must be bolted down, regularly inspected for vibration or instability, and immediately shut off at the first sign of malfunction. Quick hazard recognition and stepping away likely prevented severe injuries in this case. In a sheet metal plant, a worker performing quality checks on a polishing roller machine suddenly had his hand caught by the rotating rollers after leaning in too close to point at something unusual inside. The powerful rollers pulled in his hand and dragged his entire left arm into the machine. This incident highlights the extreme dangers of exposed roller systems and rotating equipment. Machines must be fully powered down and locked out before inspection or troubleshooting, and guards must remain securely in place during operation. Workers should never reach toward active rollers, as rotating machinery can pull in limbs with overwhelming force in a split second. In a steel parts manufacturing plant, a worker standing on a spinning polishing platform accidentally activated the machine. The sudden motion caused him to lose his balance, slip, and strike his back violently against the platform before falling to the ground. Coworkers immediately rushed to assist him. What had been a routine polishing task turned into a serious slip and fall incident. This incident highlights the dangers of working on or near energized rotating platforms. Machines should always be powered down and secured before workers step onto or near them. Non-slip footwear, stable footing, and proper training on startup procedures are essential to prevent falls and blunt force injuries in industrial environments. In a food factory, a worker securing a package near an automatic robotic arm was suddenly struck from behind when the arm activated prematurely. The force pushed directly into the worker's back, causing a severe fracture. What had been a routine packaging task instantly escalated into a serious crush and impact injury incident. This incident highlights the dangers of working near automated machinery without proper safeguards. Robotic arms should be equipped with sensors, emergency stops, and interlocks to prevent unexpected movement. Workers must maintain safe distances, and startup protocols should ensure that human presence is accounted for before activation to prevent severe blunt force injuries. In a printing press facility, a worker setting up a tape printing roller accidentally activated the machine while his hands were still near the rotating pole. The roller immediately caught him and pulled his body into the mechanism, spinning him repeatedly as the machine accelerated. The repeated rotation caused catastrophic skeletal injuries within seconds. This incident highlights the extreme dangers of energized roller systems during setup. Machinery must be fully powered down and locked out before adjustments are made, and operators must keep clear of rollers before startup. Emergency stop systems, guarding, and strict startup verification procedures are essential to prevent fatal entanglement injuries. In a quarry site, a motorcycle rider attempting to enter the area was stopped by an excavator whose operator deliberately used the bucket to strike him. The rider was repeatedly run over, dragged, and struck with the heavy machinery as the operator intentionally caused harm. What should have been routine access to the site instantly became a violent and life-threatening assault with heavy equipment. This incident highlights the extreme dangers of intentional misuse of industrial machinery. Access control, surveillance, and strict enforcement of workplace safety rules are essential to prevent deliberate harm. Any aggressive or unsafe behavior should be immediately reported to prevent severe injuries or fatalities. In an old chemical treatment facility, a man who crossed to a large liquid tank using a thin wooden plank fell when one of the ladder rungs at the side of the tank collapsed. He landed on the ground contaminated with chemical waste, immediately exposing himself to hazardous substances. Reacting quickly, he climbed onto an elevated platform and began removing his contaminated clothing. This incident highlights the dangers of deteriorated infrastructure in chemical facilities. Ladders, walkways, and makeshift bridges must be regularly inspected and maintained, and personal protective equipment, PPE, should be worn at all times. Rapid decontamination procedures and proper hazard awareness are essential to prevent chemical injuries and long-term health effects. In a metal pipe factory, a worker transporting a cart while walking backward suddenly had his clothing caught on a spinning metal pipe being polished. The pipe immediately pulled him in, spinning him rapidly and causing him to strike other nearby pipes with each rotation. This incident highlights the extreme dangers of exposed rotating machinery in metalworking environments. Workers must avoid loose clothing near active equipment, maintain safe distances, and ensure proper guarding is in place. Machines should be de-energized during nearby movement or setup, and emergency stop mechanisms must be easily accessible to prevent entrapment and repeated trauma.